My name is Harvard. I live here in Pasig, the Philippines, and I do financial brokerage. I run a company. At the same time, I was able to put up You Happy Events, an NGO for marginalized children. It took us 3 years to help us realize that a brand, to identify who we are and what we want to do, is very important. People get attracted to that and say, I want to support this because they know what they're doing. Professionalized outreach is what we try to bring. And what we do is we get a sponsor and match them with a beneficiary. And in that event, our hopes is to do 2 things: provide support and teach values. We try to integrate Christ, not specifically mentioning God all the time, but making sure that the values of God is in the event, so that these children can be educated, can be nourished, a child that can be developed as a good citizen of this country. Well, these events are filled with happiness. We had the kite flying. Kids had so much fun making them and got to fly them really high. Whenever we invite somebody to teach something for the children, we want to make sure that that person is an expert. Number one, the kids are learning from someone who knows what they're doing. We also want to make the children get inspired by these kind of people. So the next one is we call the March of Saints. So we got 200 children to dress up as saints, so that these children will see the value that these saints are remembered for a purpose. To make an event, there's different parties involved. Like I mentioned, there's a sponsor and a beneficiary, but in the middle, you still need to invite people to come and volunteer. So here are some of my IDs that I've been accumulating all these years. When I wake up every morning, just want to be reminded that I am a volunteer and I will continue to be one. NGOs work because of relationship. So how do we get volunteers? We use a lot of online presence like Facebook and Instagram so that we can attract our friends first and their friends' circles. In the last 3 years, we changed our mindset and said, why don't we charge these volunteers to volunteer? A person who pays to volunteer is a real volunteer. So as opposed to someone who was dragged along because it was free and he can eat for free, we want to filter those kind of people and put a premium on volunteerism by asking them to pay. $5 is not a lot in US dollars, because whenever you actually pay $5, everything that you need for the event is actually provided for you. We give you food, we give you the materials needed for that particular event. And then the kids, they get to have gifts, they get to have materials and food as well. Yes, of course, there's an exception. There's volunteers who don't have the resources, but they're so much passionate about volunteerism. We identify those people and we bring them to the core team. Again, it's a question for others, but if you look at our model, it actually works for us because we get volunteers and they all pay. And just this year, around 3,000 volunteers have volunteered with us. So we don't have to struggle so much on resources because our volunteers themselves is taking part of our mission. Most of our members are Christians. But having said that, we don't limit or filter the sponsors. Like the ones we had recently, that's HSBC. We also had global brands like Shell. Right now, we're well funded. And we actually don't actively request or call people and say, hey, we have this project, can you please support? We're not there anymore. We're more like someone calls and say, hey, how can we help you? To be able to get here where we are is really a strings of a lot of effort. Well, You Happy Events is more of a lifestyle for me specifically. At one point in time, we probably planned somewhere between 15 to 25 events at the same time. Out of the 110 we did this year, I've attended 95. A leader should be able to be someone who just not dictates, but actually practices what he preaches. You Have Events has actually helped me become more of a full person. Not just a well-rounded, but full. Getting to know your purpose and you utilizing that purpose every single day. All you gotta do is look at these pictures and see those smile of those faces of the children and the volunteers and see, okay, I have all the reasons to be happy. Because for me, happiness is making others, people feel the same.